Actually, this is a good time to bring in Craig. Craig Stobo on his events or his views on the economic issues and to give us some sort of perspective on those. But I must ask him that. Craig, welcome to the show this afternoon. Have you ever done your own genealogy, mate?
Not in a formal sense, no. Traced back to the 1700s, back in Scotland somewhere on my father's side, and my mother's side is English borders, not far back, no.
Stobo is, as you say, a Scottish name. I remember doing my PhD actually, or starting my PhD, and there was a Reverend Stobo who was in Otago. Any relation?
He's my great-grandfather. He was the first minister of the Presbyterian Church in Southland, so based at First Church in Invercargill, and he came out in 1861 from Glasgow, Scotland. So that's when we arrived on that side of the family.
Oh, well, there you go. And you see, I studied your father. Oh, your great-great-grandfather, was it, or great-grandfather?
A great-grandfather. I think you described his fire and brimstone. I don't use the word lecture, but certainly sermons.
Yes, he was known for them. He was, actually, that's where you get your debating ability from, and your oral and presentation skills probably from him. I mean, there's the nature side coming through your family.
Could well be.
There you go, see? You can't run out of nature nurture. Which do you favour, just quietly, Craig, the nature or the nurture side?
Nurture, I think, is a favourite. I think what can you do with a starting point? How do you encourage that person to develop and grow over time?
You've got a first-class honours in economics. Where did you get that intellectual background from?
I have no idea. You're kind of born with it, aren't you? I think you get challenged by the people you brought up with, family, school, teachers, university lecturers, a desire to learn, curiosity, risk-taking behaviour, unsatisfied with the status quo, all those things.
Is that you? You're a risk-taker?
I would say I'm more of a risk-taker than other people, for sure.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Mountain climber and all that sort of stuff. And you've always been a risk-taker since I've known you. All right, mate. Yet ironically, economics as a discipline isn't about taking risks, really, is it?
Well, it's a study of the allocation of scarce resources amongst competing wants, isn't it? We've got everyone wants more and more and more, and there's only limited resources. You've got to find a way to allocate it. So all the decisions the government's making right now is we've got scarce resources. How do we allocate them across all these competing wants in our society? It's a classic economics question, and there's no honeymoon period with this government, and they are winding back allocation mechanisms that have proved to be ineffective so far with the previous government, and winding back to 2017. The more interesting question is what they go forward with. So it's a huge agenda of work, and the information out over the last couple of weeks since we last spoke indicates the size of the task is probably bigger than the government thought, the new government thought, although Nicola Willis has been pretty clear around concerns about what she's inheriting in terms of the numbers that she has to deal with, and I would agree with her.
Well, also the Auditor General's report to Parliament this week, and the $15 billion worth of really quite bad and, if you like, unexamined expenditure. Those aren't common reports that Auditor Generals bring to Parliament, yeah? No,
I disagree. That just so we're all clear, John Ryan, who is in charge of the Office of the Auditor General, reports to Parliament. It's a parliamentary office. It doesn't report to ministers. So, in effect, it reports to us as taxpayers. He has been scathing, my words, scathing around the Strategic Tourism Asset Protection Program, which was rolled out in 2020 and very poorly run, despite concerns from officials. Minister still ran for it. So he's had one ruler over a program. The announcement the last 24 hours is around a couple of schemes. The New Zealand Upgrade Program, which was rolled out in January 2020, and the Shovel Ready Program or fund that was rolled out a little bit later in April 2020. And they were $12 billion and $3 billion respectively. And I picked up the report. I just want to make sure the viewers know what was said. So ministers made decisions to progress some projects, even though these projects were not fully scoped or planned. Full business cases were not always available or up to date, even when the project's planning was more advanced. In the OAG's view, ministers did not have enough information to be sure that decisions supported value for money. So my concern is we've spent $15 billion and what have we got for that? Where is the value for money? Furthermore, they are scathing, my words, around the role of Treasury, who was unable to report confidently on value for money of those projects. Whether that is their fault, I don't know, but it's a weakness in our constitutional system that the OAG is critiquing our government departments and our ministers and our cabinet information systems that have enabled these ministers to spend this amount of money without accountability. And I just think that's disgusting.
You're right. But it's received very little attention from the mainstream media. I see a New Zealand Herald, it's been reported well. But I don't see that across the mainstream media. It would explain an awful lot, would it not, in terms of what the government's got to do with the economy over the next 3 years and even its financial process for the next 12 months, Craig?
Well, it's contributed to our debt profile because that had to be funded. So we're left with a greater level of net debt or gross debt, depending what you want to use, which, again, show me the results of that funding. So we still find potholes in the roads. We still have hospitals.
Yeah, that's right.
So, why are these ministers not being held accountable? I guess there was an election and the voters, for intuition, they didn't have this information at the time of the election, on intuition decided that they're poor economic managers.
Yeah, well, the trouble is there isn't an outcome, is there? I mean, politically, no one will be held to account for this vast wastage of public money.
Well, it's on public record now, which is great. It means we need to start thinking more clearly about transparency and accountability, which I'm hoping this government will provide. There are systems that don't allow ministers to have unfettered access to public funds to spend them as they wish. And, to be frank, we have a smaller example with the new equivalent of the Provincial Growth Fund being rolled out by this coalition government with a smaller amount. I think it's $2 billion or thereabouts that New Zealand First was arguing for. Yeah. I would like to think that after this OAG report, we have far better transparency and accountability of how those monies are used, and each project that's been assessed has a cost-benefit against it. I know sometimes processes take longer than ministers wish, but it's not their money, it's our money.
Now, I was introduced to Te Waihanga, and I had no idea what that was. It's another one of those names that a Maori name I didn't know. I'm sure most people wouldn't through this. But Te Waihanga is in actual fact the New Zealand Infrastructure Commission. Is that the old Ministry of Works, Craig?
No. The Ministry of Works has gone through several iterations and is now well and truly in the private sector after sale processes. So the Infrastructure Commission is an organisation set up as an agent of the Crown to assess the challenges in rolling out infrastructure, whether that's resources, timetables, policies, interaction between local, central government and the private sector. So it's a Crown agency that's charged with understanding our infrastructure challenges and how to deal with them. And one of the things that have come out of that quite clearly is a theme that is so far on the evidence. New Zealanders poor managers, efficient managers of large projects. And that's one of the themes that's come out from their report in the last 12 months, where they listed a whole lot of recommendations for change. And that's the one that's stuck in my mind.